what the hell is going on with Taylor Swift? So glad that we're doing this together. In this episode, we're going to be analyzing one of the most hot topics of the moment, the breakup between Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn. And we'll also be analyzing the new rumored relationship between Taylor and Matty Healy, frontman of the band The 1975. And I just wanted to clear something out. The idea of this video is not to capitalize on Taylor Swift's personal life. We're not here to judge or to throw shade at anyone. The purpose of me doing this is to show you how these tools, such as numerology and astrology, can help us understand the lessons behind certain events in our lives and how they can guide us if we're willing to take the gift that these lessons bring to us, and how everything perfectly aligns with our life path. And to show you this, obviously, I'm not going to talk about my grandmother or my neighbor, because you don't even know them, and I would have to give you all the context in their lives. And obviously, that's not really interesting to you. So I think it's better to use, as an example, a celebrity that we already know. I mean, at least from the outside, you know what I mean? We all know who Taylor Swift is. A lot of us admire her work, or we can relate in some way to these celebrities. A lot of them have touched us or influenced in our lives because sometimes they also share some of their emotions or experiences with us through their art. So it's useful to have them as references so we can see how these cosmic maps, as I like to call them, work in real life, and how these energies manifest out there with a real person that you can recognize. And so it's been very interesting to see how the dynamics of Taylor's relationships are completely matching her numerology chart. Over the years, I've been a fan of her work for a long time, but I've never really stopped and analyzed her relationships or her personal life using these tools. Usually, I just use them for personal growth and self-knowledge on myself or my clients. But since Taylor has declared that she's actually very into numerology, and she's recently announced Speak Now TV, and she's been making these surprising moves and changes in her life and going through these transitions, going on tour, sending us hidden messages. I mean, she's done that forever, but I had never really looked into it. I don't know why, but now we all know she doesn't just do things by accident. She's very strategic. So I just began to get really curious about learning how she uses numerology to her favor. And guys, it's blowing my mind. There are so many coincidences that I don't really think are coincidences. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so right here you can see the numerology chart, or the synergy between Joe Alwyn and Taylor Swift. Their couple number is the number 7. You can see it right here. This number right here is the combination of their essence number. Taylor is a 4 because she was born on the 13th, and Joe is a 3 because he was born on the 21st. If you add those up, you get a 7. I know there's a lot of numbers, and this might be confusing because it's like I'm talking in a different language. It's like I'm speaking in numbers right now, but I will try my best to do it as simple and easy and understandable as I can. And you'll see, as we move along, you'll see how everything just makes sense. So when two individuals come together and create this number 7, the chances of this being a bond from past lives are really high, almost certain. It's like if your souls had vowed to find each other again in the next life. However, this doesn't guarantee that it's going to be a fairy tale, or that is granted that you're going to spend the rest of your lives together. But it does indicate right away that this person is coming to your life to give you one of the most important lessons I think number 7 and number 11 couples are the ones with the most profound connections because they make an impact on a spiritual level, like in your soul. They make you grow up, they make you mature, they make you question life, they make you question truth or what you thought it was truth before you met them. They make you question yourself and your life before you had this connection. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of spiritual growth to be had with this relationship. And also, it's very intellectually stimulating. You know, number 7 is the teacher, the philosopher, the detective. They have really deep and great minds. So, they're always looking for ways in which they can connect on a deeper and deeper level as you grow. And since 7 is the number of justice and law, commitment, truth, responsibility, honor, duty, it's very common that this relationship really prioritizes these values, becoming one of the strongest and most committed couples of the whole like numerological scale. A couple with this number usually appears in your life when you're living some kind of injustice or when you're being roughly misjudged or dealing with like an excess of severity in your life or even like an existential crisis, a lack of faith. For example, when Lady Diana met Dodi Al-Fayed, they were also a couple number 7. And well, we all know how the situation with the royal family affected her. And the topic of injustice strongly influencing the circumstances in her life and her death. And although it's not obviously on the same level, but you can recall how Taylor was also dealing with this severity and very inquisitive scrutiny right before she met Joe. So when a person who you create a number 7 bond with appears in your life, it's like if they were saying, I'm going to do right by you. And I'll show you that life doesn't have to be so severe. You don't have to be punished for being who you are because I'm going to love you for who you truly are and not for what everyone expects you to be. So as you can see, it is a very beautiful lesson that this teacher is going to share with you. And you can remember how even Taylor sings in a lot of the songs in Reputation, but the lyrics that just come to my mind when I think of this is, even in my worst lies, you saw the truth in me. And that's something that a couple with this number actually feel. So they met back in 2016, which had the numerological vibration of number 9. It was a collective year number 9. And when you meet someone who impacts you this much in a year number 9, it's definitely from the past, probably past life, because number 9 symbolizes the completion and the end of a cycle. So if you meet someone under this vibration, probably something wasn't completed in past life or in the past. Something didn't quite start as it should have, or it suddenly ended for some unexpected reason and it didn't really have closure. So life is presenting this person or situation again so you can have exactly that closure. So yeah, most likely this is another proof that Taylor and Joe may have had a relationship from past life. So put a pin on this because the symbolism of number 9 is going to be really important in this story because it brings people from the past, remember this, to teach you a lesson that was pending. And once that lesson is done or is completed or delivered or acquired, it's very possible that they leave or that the relationship ends or reaches like a new state. It evolves into something new. But yeah, keep this in mind because this is the energy under which they met each other in 2016, okay? Now, if you see here, their karma number, this one right here, is a number 5. And this aspect shows us the wound that they carry from past lives. Like in previous lives, they didn't really know how to work with this energy. It's like the assignment that they didn't really approve or complete together. And in this life, they need to pay that debt, complete that assignment, so they can move forward in their evolutionary path. Now, how does this energy, this karmic energy, feel in a relationship? How does its energy manifest? Remember how in the song Gorgeous she sings, you should think about the consequence of your magnetic field being a little too strong? I couldn't think of a better way to describe how the number 5 feels. Because actually, one of the keywords of number 5 is magnetism, attraction, sensuality. Most of the times, you feel this strong chemistry that sweeps you off your feet. If you've ever been with a person who makes a number 5 with you, you'll know. Like, think. You could also, like, it's possible that you fight a lot with them, but the sexual connection between a couple that has this number is amazing. You'll know. I mean, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it could also be, like, really toxic, unfortunately. It could go to the extremes a lot. Like, when it's good, it's amazing, but when it's bad, it feels like hell, you know? Because it's such a ride, dude. It's such a high. It's so passionate. You can't keep away from each other. It's like you're magnets. He moves, you move, or they move, like, or vice versa. The sexual chemistry, as I said, is amazing. So knowing this and knowing that they had this combination of numbers, like not only the physical attraction, but also like the soul, the spiritual connection, and the like reuniting from past lives, we can understand why they both felt such a deep and strong connection almost right away. Because when you meet someone under the vibration of this combination of numbers, it's definitely going to make a big impact in your life. Actually, Taylor also makes another 5, has this number 5 karma with a few of other of her exes, but you'll see. We'll get into that probably in a second part of this video. But let's go back to number 5. It's the number of freedom by excellence. So when it's in this position, which most of the time, when it's in a karma or karmic position, it's almost as if by default, the shadow side of this number is going to be activated. So it's very common that since it's the number of freedom, you can at first feel that rush with this person, but later in time, it becomes exactly the opposite. Let me explain what I mean. On the one hand, you immediately feel this raw magnetism and you can be fascinated by them, like they trap you. It's intoxicating. You kind of become addicted to them or to this rush that they make you feel. But that's not really that healthy, is it? On the long term, like at some point on the shadow side of this number, you can end up feeling really trapped because it's so fascinating that you just want to live passionately with this person and like lock yourselves in your own fascinating bubble of passion and excitement. And you want to keep yourselves inside this atmosphere because suddenly they are the only source and the provider of all the excitement and the pleasure and the fun and the freedom. And you leave everything and everyone else outside because you're so hooked that at some point it can just backfire and make you feel really trapped. It's like when she sings in Don't Blame Me, Lord save me, my drug is my baby, I be using for the rest of my life. I get so high, trip of my life. Like it describes exactly how this relationship feels in the beginning. Another thing is that it's very common that this kind of relationships that have a number 5 in an important position in the chart, and this is just the dynamic that you find yourself in when you have this number, especially with this combination between 7 and 5, it's very common that you start the relationship secretly. You know, no one can find out. Everything is a mystery. It's even clandestine almost. And it makes it even more exciting. And Taylor speaks about it in a few songs as well. Like Cruel Summer, for example, where she says, I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. And also where she says, it's cool, that's what I tell them, no rules. Like, she describes it perfectly. And I sneak in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. Like, she knows. The part where she says, devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes. What doesn't kill me makes me want you more. Like, that is such a 5 dynamic. I mean, all this adrenaline from all the secrecy and the hiding, and even when they were out as a couple, like publicly, they still were very private, which is fine. But it's almost as she sings in Cruel Summer, devils roll the dice, angels roll their eyes, like as if her inner voice or her consciousness said, you better know what you're getting into here. Remember how this is starting. How is the relationship starting? You're playing with fire. And she says it also in The Great War. Diesel is desire. You were playing with fire. Although the context might be a little bit different, but like all these references were like this energy was very present throughout the relationship right from the beginning, as if life or the game of karma, cause and effect, said, you might be throwing it under the rug right now because of all the excitement and because it's a thrill, but this energy is there. It's not going anywhere. Like the seed that your actions are planting right now is going to grow and at some point have a consequence, and you better be ready to deal with it when the time comes. As I said before, number 5, it's like a time bomb. It's a pressure cooker. At some point, it's going to blow up, and that pressure is going to come out. And guess when it's going to come out? In a year number 5. Like, you already have a karma with this energy. And then a year with the same energy, which is so strong, will add up to that energy, and it's going to explode, which is Taylor's personal year during 2023. You can see right here, she's going through a personal year number 5. And if you can see, it's also in red. That means that the source of that number 5 was a 14, and it's a karmic number. Like, karma's coming for you. And it's not like a punishment. It doesn't mean that something bad is going to happen. It's just the consequences of your actions when this all started, or when this energy was taking place as well. Like, it's a snowball, and at some point that energy has to be released, right? Especially if it combines with a collective year number 7. Okay, same 7 and 5, right? Same numbers as Taylor and Joe's synergy. Couple number 7 and karma number 5, same numbers. And guess what numbers they had back in 2016 when they met as personal years? Each of them, look. Same numbers. You see? Joe was going through a personal year number 5, and Taylor, personal year number 7 back then. Throughout 2023, as I said in the beginning of the year, we're going to find out about a lot of cheating, scandals, infidelities, lies, treason, fraud. Like, we might even be involved in a situation that has to do with those subjects, because number 7 is the number of truth. So the truth is going to come out. That's why we also found out about, the rumors about Liam Hemsworth and Miley Cyrus, and all the dirty laundry between Shakira and Piqué also came out. A lot of, fake people that were idolized, or like false gods, are going to fall from their pedestals, and a lot of fantasy bubbles are going to burst. And that actually reminds me, you know who else had karma number 5 in their relationship? Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. Yeah, they had something kind of similar going on. Of course, again, it's not the exact same situation. It's not the same context. But the lesson, if we focus on the lesson, we see that number 7 reminds us to be honest with ourselves. And that's why a lot of the times we find exactly the opposite outside reflected. Like we find cheating and lies and fraud and treason, as I said. Like this dynamic, specifically when you have a 7 and a 5 playing together, is like it doesn't really end up creating strong roots, like a solid foundation. Everything stays under the veil or in the passion of the moment or in the ideal of what once was or could have been or what might come later. But in this very moment, if it lacks grounding, it doesn't really have a strong foundation to hold up the relationship throughout the time. So once that passion and that adrenaline rush and that excitement starts to fade away or to extinguish, or in the very moment that one of the partners or even they both start to try to control the other person, that really creates a clash, a breaking point in the relationship. A sense of, I don't want to keep hiding anymore. I want my freedom. I don't want to be controlled. Because as I said, number 5 is a number of freedom. For example, do you remember when Brad and Jennifer, although they did get married, because also number 7 is about commitment. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get married, but in this case they did. However, they didn't necessarily integrate this aspect of responsibility that number 7 also represents. Number 7 is always going to seek for a better or a deeper commitment. And as I said, to connect on a deeper and deeper level as you grow. So in the case of Jennifer and Brad, for example, they weren't able to take like the next step or like a higher responsibility or deeper commitment with, for example, having children. They had like this big expectation ahead and they didn't really reach it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have children to actually commit to someone else or to commit with something serious in your life. For example, I don't want to have kids. But this energy naturally is going to push you to, as I said, mature and take responsibility. So if you get stuck like in a comfortable place and you just, you don't keep moving forward, you're not growing together in the relationship. And this creates tension and conflict because naturally, number 5 wants to expand. It doesn't want to be stuck. This is the energy that breaks the shell to open up your wings so you can fly. You may not know it, but you have to reach new horizons. Also, sometimes number 7 is linked to the status quo. And in the case of Jennifer and Brad, although they did commit to each other, they never really put down roots, as I said. And then, of course, they were involved in this whole scandal with Angelina, you know, the cheating rumors, which is also very number 5 vibes, 5 with 7. Because as I said, since it's the number of truth and justice, people that have this number combination might actually encounter or experience the exact opposite. Because the big lesson of this number is the ultimate commitment here is with yourself, not to the status quo, not to whatever society expects of you, not to the even person even. It's with you and your path. You have to be loyal to yourself and what you really want. And if you're kidding yourself and lying to yourself and betraying yourself just to show this person or these people that you're doing the right thing, then I'm going to make you see it, hitting you where it hurts the most and bursting all of your bubbles. And if you remember, the first thing that Brad did when he got together with Angelina was to pose for a magazine where they were sitting together as this ideal, you know, perfect family with the children and all that. And they did end up having their own children together, like biologically. And I think that Brad Pitt with Angelina could finally create those roots or that structure, so to speak. Although it ended up crumbling down anyway, but well, that's another story. But you can see the number 22 that they both created, Angelina and Brad, helped, or it was the purpose of that union, of that connection, to create that materialization of a family, or that physical family, to put it in a way. Whereas with Jennifer Aniston, they were a couple number 11, which is very similar to number 7, although more related to spiritual elevation on a greater level, but they do share a lot of the same characteristics. So instead of the physical structure, it's more about the idealization of this connection and the promises that we made and the vows that we took and the spiritual connection that we share. As Taylor actually sings, "Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand? With every guitar string scar on my hand, I take this magnetic force of a man to be my lover." And I actually think that the album Lover reflects that fantasy and the idealization on which that relationship was built. Also, when she sings, "I like shiny things, but I'll marry you in paper rings," like, I know probably the intention of Taylor when writing this song was to say, like, I don't really need all that fancy traditional materialistic thing. No deal, the 1950 shit they want from me. I just need and value this commitment that we have with one another. That's what's real. That's what I want. I don't need anything else. I just want your love, right? I think that's awesome. But at the end of the day, you have to add the grounding part of it all. Because if you see in their chart, there are barely almost no fours, number 4, except hers. But it's a karmic number again. Like, it's an energy that she has to learn how to handle in this life. Yeah, that's what she has to achieve. That's what she has to polish, right? But in their compatibility, in their synergy, there are no fours. So I think that's where the big problem in that relationship was. You have to have the strong foundation that will sustain your fantasies and dreams that you want to build with this person, you know? And deep down, I also feel like the hidden message in those lyrics is, I'm willing to sacrifice the kind of life that I've built. You know, the fact that she said, I like shiny things, again, shiny, sparkling thing, as she does in Bejeweled, but I'm willing to renounce to it or sacrifice it and pretend to be low-key and more simple, regular couple for paper rings, for this union and this, again, fantasy that we've created together. I mean, it's such a number 7 thing to say. Because this number also represents ideals and sacrifice. So this is such a dynamic that a couple that has this number might adopt when it's not in balance, because one of them ends up sacrificing what they want or their own projects and values to pursue the fairy tale or the bubble that they created where they feel safe and which protects them from the harsh reality out there. And it's very funny how also Princess Diana did something kind of similar, as I mentioned before, with Dodi. Now, we have to remember that Taylor is a number 4, as we said. Okay, that's her essence because she was born on the 13th. Of course, she likes the material things, not because she's materialistic, but because she is the materializer herself. She's a manifester, a builder, a mastermind. She's a 4. She likes the shiny things. She likes the type of life that she's built with so much effort and sweat and tears. As she sings, I gave my blood, sweat, and tears for this. And she wants the rewards that come with it. Truly well deserved. So why would she give that up for paper rings, you know? And what I love about the energy of number 7, which is the energy of this year, as I said, is that it slaps you right in the face so you can wake the F up, return to solid ground, and stop lying to yourself. As she sings in The Great War, sweet dream is over. This lavender haze is dissipating. She's waking up from the fantasy in a year number 7. And oh, there's no coincidences. Taylor is also going through a personal year number 5, as we said, which is the karma that she had with Joe, remember? And remember what we said about number 5 is the number of magnetism and sensuality, freedom, expansion. Number 5 doesn't want to be kept in the basement. It wants to be passionate. It wants to enjoy life at its fullest. And another number that is really important in this story, if not the most, is number 3. And you'll see why. But before we jump onto that, let me just tell you that another aspect of a couple number 7, since it's the number of responsibility and commitment, reflection, deep thinking, and spirituality, it's not really the most exciting number or energy. As I said, it's very correct, to put it in a word. So when the honeymoon phase is over, it's really common that the relationship becomes very serious and tedious. It might be even boring, or it could feel heavy. And you can also see right here the first stage that they had as a couple from 2016 to 2022 was, again, the magic number 3. But since 2022, it shifted. A new phase with a different vibration started. And it's number 9 now. Which, first of all, it tells us that, first of all, that enchanting phase of number 3 is over. It's time to grow up. The spell is over. It's midnight. Your fancy carriage turned into a pumpkin again. And secondly, it's like if life was saying, okay, this relationship has to reach a new level of maturity. Otherwise, you have to let it go. Number 9 is all about closing chapters, cleansing, letting go, and releasing. So, it was time, guys, to wrap this up. The lesson was already delivered. Time to move on. Although in the future stages, listen, I don't want to, again, paint a fantasy or get anyone excited. There is a possibility that they reconnect in the future, but let's focus in the present, okay? The here and now. Again, talking about number 3, you have no idea how relevant this energy is for her right now. And number 3 wants to play around, wants to enjoy, wants to be, joyful and cheerful and not take everything so seriously. It wants to explore and be curious, like a little child. It's actually a very kind of childish energy. So it wants to try a little bit of everything. Now, what's interesting is if we analyze the chart of Joe Alwyn, his essence number is also number 3. I'm telling you, the perfect people will appear in your life to teach you what you need to learn. And guess what? Joe's personal year for 2023 has that exact same vibration. As we move along, you'll see there are no coincidences, seriously. So every number has a spectrum, right? Within every vibration and frequency, you have 2 polarities and a whole pan of different shades in between, right? So the most healthy thing to do is to reach a middle point, right? To find balance between those extremes. So in the spectrum of the vibration of number 3, you could either be, if you had this essence, you could have been the kid that was always like the center of attention growing up. And maybe you grew up being under the spotlight so much that you had no privacy and everyone always wanted to know about every single move you made. And this kind of conditions you to seek for validation and applause and to want to please everyone, basically, and adapt to everyone's needs. On the other side of the spectrum, you could have grown up being like no one noticed you, like your voice wasn't heard, like everyone always decided for you. And like you weren't seen, like your voice or opinion didn't matter. So as an adult, you could be on the side that seeks for attention all the time, or you could now feel Like you need to retreat and protect your privacy as much as you can and just remain as low key as possible. And so I guess it must be hard for Joe to have this essence. Our essence is like a charcoal that is on the path to become a diamond. That's our potential. We have it in ourselves, but we have to develop it. We have to polish it, right? So I'm guessing it must be hard for Joe to have this potential within himself, and maybe he's not really exploiting it because he's really private and concealed and composed, or at least that's what we see. He's maybe not really vibrating this energy in balance. And all of a sudden, a person who shines like the superstar she is comes into your life, and suddenly everyone wants to know what you're doing, what you have to say, and about your personal life. And suddenly you're being noticed, but not because of your own work, right? Only because of who your girlfriend is. Because, oh, you're under the spotlight, that's for sure. Everyone's pointing their camera at you, but not because of what you want to be noticed and recognized for. That must be actually pretty frustrating, especially for this essence. You know, it's number 3, the number of expression, of shining your own light. And let me tell you something. A lot of the times, the easy exit that this essence takes when they feel this frustration boiling up inside is cheating. It's like, I want to be noticed and recognized and appreciated for my own light, for my own shine. I want to feel special and appreciated for that. So I'll look for that in another scenario that will give it to me. And again, we're speculating. We don't know if it really happened. We don't know what's really going on inside. But it is weird that they broke up when they seemed totally fine a few months ago. And that even the friends that they shared for so long, all of a sudden unfollowed him. Like, I know it's dumb because it's just social media. That doesn't mean anything. But at the same time, for celebrities, it kind of means a lot. Because look, oh, it turned on. Talking about shining your light, right? It turned on by itself. As I was saying, it is kind of weird because if you break up after 6 years of being with someone that you always talked about or referred to as the love of your life or your soulmate, and you always said like you wanted to spend your lives together, and suddenly you break up, okay, that's normal, that happens. But when you break up on good terms and that person was so special to you and their family became your family and your friends became their friends, it's not that common that they unfollow you or you unfollow them right away. If you really broke up in good terms, it's common that you still consider their family and their friends as special people that you created a bond with over the 6 years that you were together. Like, yeah, of course, maybe you'll not be as close to them as before, but like to just cut them out so soon in such an abrupt way, I don't know, it's really weird to me, and it makes me think something else might have happened. And the way she kind of got really emotional during champagne problems, I mean, I don't know. And listen, I hate stereotypes around astrological signs and numerological archetypes. Like each number and each sign has its reputation, like super cliche characteristics that I almost never take into account. For example, my sun sign is Aries and my rising sign is Gemini. And apparently we have this reputation of being players and cheaters, but I've never cheated in my whole life. Like not once, I swear. So that's bullshit. And I mean, people cheat or don't cheat. Their sign or number or gender or age or whatever is not really relevant. And also, I think, or I've learned, every number and every sign have different motivations to potentially cheat or to be really loyal and faithful. So, for example, Sagittarius is also kind of like, it has the reputation, like they're known for kind of playing around because they cherish their freedom so much that they end up cheating. That's what it is said. I personally don't think that that's the rule for every Sagittarian out there. But okay, let's say that maybe there is some kind of tendency that Sagittarians have to seek for freedom whenever they feel imprisoned in a relationship. Now, we all know Taylor is a Sagittarian, and maybe that's also why all the, Calvin Harris and Tom Hiddleston being the getaway car thing, you know what I mean? And Taylor actually sings, I wanted to leave him, I needed a reason, I was lying to myself, it was the great escape, the prison break, the light of freedom on my face. Like, even Taylor reckons that she has cheated. She also speaks about something like this in her song High Infidelity. So I guess there are some cases in which you can see how these stereotypes apply. So in the case of Joe Alwyn and, the rumor around why they broke up, and it is said that he cheated on Taylor with his co-star Emma Laird. In numerology, there are two numbers that stereotypically will cheat. And that is number 3 and number 5. And each of them has its reasons. Now, he's a number 3, and it is said that a person with this energy will cheat because number 3 is the eternal child that wants to explore. And as I said, they have this inner curiosity that might never be satiated completely. It is hard for them to actually settle with just one person for a long time, even if they apparently settle down and maybe they get married and they stay together with the same person for a long time. But behind the scenes, they are like pulled by this urge of trying a little bit of everything, and it's almost in their DNA, supposedly, to want to try everything that life has to offer out there. Like, I feel that the main reason why a number 3 will cheat is FOMO. That's what it is, basically. It's the number of multiplicity and diversity, so it's almost unrealistic to expect them to be monogamous for a long time, since their nature is to flutter around, to put it in a way. Even if they don't cheat physically, they are big flirters. Now, this doesn't mean that one of them, that we have to hate Joe. Like, these are all rumors, first of all. Second of all, even if one of them cheated, we don't have the right, or we're not, in the moral position to say that one is guilty and the other is the poor innocent. There's no right or wrong. It's just what each of them have to learn in their path. The big picture, that's the important thing. So let's focus on that. And on the other hand, in Joe's defense, Taylor does have this same energy in her karma position, as you can see, which is like the karma position, as I said, already kind of sets the shadow aspect of the number by default, because that's what you couldn't learn or failed to learn in a past life. So it's almost your task to learn how to navigate this energy and heal this aspect in this life again. That's just like textbook numerology. It doesn't have to be the ultimate truth. Like, they're not condemned to do it, I also have this karma. I was born in March. And as I said, I've never cheated. So if they know how to handle this situation, this energy in a healthy and mature way and balanced way, it won't happen. But who knows? However, I do believe that since Taylor, again, has this number 3 as karma, and number 3 represents expression, communication, joy, daring to shine and speak up, I do think that Taylor wants that right now. She wants to make the whole place shimmer, which she said in Bejeweled, and everyone, well, it is said that this song is about her relationship with Calvin Harris, and guess what? She actually had a number 3 relationship with Calvin. You see this? That number 3 in the middle, that's their couple number, and it's a number 3. And she describes that she felt like in the basement when she wanted the penthouse of his heart. And she misses him, but she misses Sparklin. She feels this urge to go out without asking for permission, reclaim her place as the queen, and show everyone what she's made of. She wants to be freed from her prison right here. See, number 4, karma with Calvin Harris. Now, why is this so relevant? Like, even more relevant for this time in her life? You have to look at this. You guys. This is the couple number that she also makes with none other than Matty Healy. And guess when they met for the first time? Back in 2014. We know that. But do the math. A year number 7. Same as this year. That means that exactly 9 years ago, remember how I told you to keep number 9 in mind? This is the part where you take off the pin on that note. And remember how I told you that number 9 and this energy brings people from the past? Because something wasn't completed, something was pending. So 9 years pass, and whatever lesson or process she was going through back in 2014 is like, guess who's back? And look, if you see the map of the months of this year and their numerological energy, you can see that in February, we also had a month number 9. So possibly that's when Joe and Taylor officially called it quits. Because as I said, number 9 has to do with endings and completion of cycles. But it's also like a revisit to the past. I mean, this is just amazing how everything matches and aligns. And I look at this map, and we all know that Taylor felt unseen and even undervalued and bored with Calvin. But she might have felt like that in the last stages of her relationship with Joe as well. They both might have felt like that. Because remember, this is a personal year number 3 for Joe as well. Like, something was going on there that pushed them to get out of their caves, wake up from the fantasy, and shine again. And we actually are, like, as I'm recording this, new pictures of Joe have come out. Like, the first public appearance he's, like, officially made at the Cannes Festival. And he's actually looking pretty good. But going back to Taylor, you know how she sings, I made you my world. Have you heard I can reclaim the land? And I miss you, but I miss sparkling. I feel like the only people that she has been like that with are Calvin and Joe. Like, I didn't have eyes for anyone but you, and I didn't want to be with anyone but you. And that kind of dynamic has been very similar with Calvin and Joe. Like, in a way, she was dimming her light, so the men in her life didn't feel intimidated or overshadowed by her fame. And remember how in the song that she co-wrote with Calvin, she co-wrote it under a pseudonym. And when she co-wrote some songs with Joe, he did the same thing. So it's like, why aren't you just showing yourselves? And remember how in interviews they would ask Calvin back when they were together if he would ever collaborate with Taylor, like musically. And he said, no, I don't see that happening in the future. And how also Joe was kind of avoiding talking about Taylor when being asked about her or his opinion on her work. And on the opposite side, Taylor was always like praising them and supporting them and writing songs about them. Well, not so much for Calvin, but showing her love for them, like shouting it to the world, like totally in love. Maybe not fully going public, but she did hint like, oh, this man that I'm with is amazing. And it's like, why is that not being reciprocated? You know? And although Taylor has said that fame and recognition are not always that great, and that is kind of the price that she has to pay, I don't think she's really ready or willing to sacrifice that. You know, with a karma number 3 is kind of like, I hate being under scrutiny, but I also can't live without the spotlight. Almost like it's my own hell and I love it. And let's not forget that a number 4, which is her essence number, can sometimes look so much for protection and a safe place, a solid ground, and to set limits, which I'm sure she needed back when she met Joe. And still, I mean, she needs to set healthy boundaries, right? But back then in 2016, I think this relationship really helped her grounding herself. And as she sings in Paris, privacy sign on the door and on my page and on the whole world, like, she needed that. But sometimes when a number 4 goes to the extreme, they can enclose themselves so much and put up so many walls for protection and set so many boundaries that, as I always say, they become prisoners in their own castle. So I think that this year with Matty Healy creating this number 3, listen, we may not like the guy or we may not be supportive of this relationship, but first of all, who are we to? Like, our opinion really doesn't matter. And yeah, we may not support this union because of his behavior and reputation. But the purpose of this, that's what's important. As one of my dear teachers said, don't focus on the messenger. Don't focus on the person. Don't crucify the person. He's just here to fulfill a purpose. They both are in each other's lives. Like, everyone involved in this situation is learning a valuable lesson for their evolutionary path and growth. So let's focus on the lesson that they are coming to teach, okay? Because you need it right now. Well, in this case, the people involved need that lesson right now. They need to acquire that knowledge and that experience. Okay, you called them for a reason. You chose them for a reason. You chose each other, right? And the purpose of this union, I think, with Matty Healy, is that Matty is helping Jaylor, even unconsciously, but she's a mastermind, you know? She doesn't play games. She knows exactly what she's doing. And if not, even if she didn't, she's so aligned with her path that whatever happens is perfect. You know what I mean? So yeah, this relationship or this connection is helping her reconnect with this energy of number 3 again, with the spark and the passion of life. He's just a conduct for it, okay? He's just like one little piece on the whole game board that sometimes we don't see. And this year, she's rooting for someone, or, you know, life is reconnecting her with someone who might help her get in tune with this energy of number 3 again. And to find freedom, which is also the lesson of number 5, which is her personal year, because she's been asleep for some time now. And now it's time to break these walls and break the rules, because we're on a collective year number 7, which is also about that. And it's the same energy under which they met back in 2014. So as I said, this is perfect. I think for her, this is a year to just go out and play and have fun. Like, this is not a time to think if this is like a serious thing, or if they're going to commit, or if it's going to look good for her, or if it's going to please the public. Like, of course not. That is not at all the lesson of number 3 or number 5. It's actually quite the opposite. It's like, don't ask for permission, go out there and have a blast, be free. Okay, number 3 is exactly what the Bejeweled song speaks about. And she actually does this. I mean, and this is exactly what her album Speak Now refers to. So now that we're on that subject, we all know, because she said it herself, that Taylor Swift is really into numerology.
Also, sometimes I'm very into numerology.
Okay.
Sometimes they find things I didn't even plan.
Really?
Math.
Okay.
95% of the time I'm planning it. But there are some times when they're like, the math! And I'm like, oh my God.
And we all know she doesn't just do things randomly or without really putting her mind into it. She actually describes herself as a hardcore schemer.
And, you know how I love to plan things. It's my love language with you, you know? I plot, I scheme, I plan. And then I get to tell you about it.
So I don't think there's any kind of coincidence in that she's feeling this urge to reclaim the land, make the whole place shimmer again, speak up, that the next album to be released, Taylor's version, is Speak Now.
I think rather than me, like, speaking about it,
which is basically the motto of number 3, and which is, by the way, the 3rd album of her music career, which was released for the first time in 2010, which, yes, if you do the math, it was also a collective year number 3. And she broke the news in May, which has the exact same energy. Do you see this? May is a month number 3, and it doesn't even end there, you guys.
I thought I would just show you. So if you would direct your attention to the back big screen that we have. Speak Now comes out July 7th.
She decided to release Speak Now, Taylor's version, on the 7th of July, which is the 7th month of a year number 7, 2023. So it's 7 plus 7 plus 7. You get 21, which if you reduce it, is another number 3. Like, she is genius, dude. And she's so aligned with the cosmic energy. It just blows my mind. She knows what's up. And I love that. I'm so excited for her. And I'm so excited about what she's gonna keep sharing with us. Like, just right now, I saw in her Instagram that she's doing a collaboration with Ice Spice for the song Karma, like a new remix or a new version. And I can't wait, because in the image that she posted, you can see both Taylor and Ice Spice like holding a string, and one was tied to the moon. I believe it's the moon. And the one that Ice Spice has or is holding is the planet Saturn. And Saturn, it's known to be the lord of karma. And the moon, I'm attributing the moon to the lunar nodes, also known as the nodes of karma. So I'm so excited to see this collaboration, to hear the song. And she also announced that there will be a song from the vault, the Midnight's Vault, and it's called You're Losing Me. She's giving us so much, dude. She's given us so much. There's also gonna be like a renewed version of Snow on the Beach with more Lana Del Rey. So we just have to see, you know, what other surprises she has for us. And can't wait. Anyway, my dear Padawans and Swifties out there, thank you so much for watching. I think that's all that I have for today. I do, however, want to make a second part because there's just so much information. And as I said, we're trying to catch up with everything that she's given us. So yeah, just let me know, what do you think about all this? Yeah, what are your thoughts? Did this resonate at all? Did it make sense to you? Let me know. Yeah, leave a comment, share this with your fellow Swifties, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And I'm sending you all my love and light. Mwah. See you soon.